Hey there, podcaster. I am so excited you are here because we're talking about why 85% of podcasts fail, why they can't be successful, some of the main things they're doing wrong, and how to flip the switch so that you can succeed at this podcasting game. Because here at Beyond the Downloads, we're talking what can happen for your life and business if you stick around. And we don't want you being part of the 85% club that pod fades away. So are you ready? Let's go. Welcome to Beyond the Downloads. I'm Jen, your podcast bestie, here to tell you there's so much more about podcasting than just those numbers. So before you throw in the towel, you better listen up. We're diving deep into the heart of what makes podcasting truly special, from storytelling to connection, and yes, even healing. Think of me as your podcast life raft, ready to help you navigate those choppy waters of this podcasting world and the podcast overwhelm. From understanding the therapeutic power of sharing your voice to the practical tips to grow your show without losing your ever-loving mind. If you're ready to ditch the hustle and create content that leaves a legacy, a tsunami impact, no more ripples. Whether you're launching your first show or looking to take your podcast to the next level, I'm here to help you grow, launch, and yes, make some money from your passion. Let's make your podcasting dreams your reality. It's time to go beyond the downloads, where your story becomes a legacy. So this is a critical topic in podcasts because it makes me so sad to see so many people give up that have a message, that have the story. I mean, heck, I wrote the book, Your Story is Someone's Life Raft, and truly podcasting saved my life. So why do 85% of podcasters fail? And more importantly, what can you do to avoid being part of this horrible statistic? I know this is going to be a tough pill to swallow, but you've got to understand this so that you can start overcoming them. So as we dive in, I want you to go into this with an open mind. And if you love these episodes and you know another podcaster that has been struggling, share this podcast with them, because really, I want to make sure that our stories and our messages are reaching far and wide, because we are too magical to be a ripple. We are made to be a tsunami. And to pack that tsunami punch, we really do need a platform like podcasting, because heck, it's getting into your subconscious mind right now. And I know you can make a difference if you stick with it. Even with low download numbers, there's a way to make podcasting work for your business. So why do 85% of podcasters fail? And I fall into this one. You've seen I'm inconsistent. One of the things that's really been hard for me is to stay consistent, but inconsistency is a huge setup for failure. I know. Do as I say, not as I do, because truly, when you are consistent, you are training someone to come back and listen to you when they are doing something. So let's say you're dropping an episode every Monday morning. Maybe you've become part of their gym routine before they go to work. Maybe you're part of their commute home. But if you have not set yourself up, meaning you have poorly planned, hey, I've poorly planned, and for me, it's more of a time management issue because I'm producing so many podcasts a week. Of course, if I run out of time, this show sometimes takes the back burner, but no more. No more. We are going to stop poor planning and we are going to start showing up consistently. So that is one of the main things, is that we wait till the last minute. And this happens all the time, across the board. This happens with me. This happens with my clients, where podcast needs to go out the next day. And it's like, oh, I've totally forgotten. It's like the podcast has become this added stress because we haven't created the space that really makes us say, this is something I want to do. So when you're planning, make sure it's something that you want to do. Yes, podcasting is a lot of work. It is so much easier. If I was recording this live on Facebook, I could be like, hello, how's it going? And I could peace out. But no, as soon as I record this, I have to edit it, create content around it to promote it, create the SEO, go into all the details, which takes a little bit more effort. But the reward is so much more because it's evergreen, everlasting, and legacy over here. So start planning, because when you don't plan, you plan to fail. hello, I'm raising my hand. I plan great for my clients. Sometimes it's harder for ourselves. Another one is audio quality. Maybe back in 2020 when everyone was just getting home and we were bored and you could, get away with it. You just plug, you open up your phone and you record right into it, background noise, all this stuff. But you know what? As time goes on, people are getting pickier. You don't need fancy, expensive equipment. This equipment, yes, I do have a Bose headset, a little bit more expensive, but I like the noise canceling. And of course, it's part of my business. I have to listen to audio for a living. Do you need this? No. But you do need a headset and you do need a quality microphone. I have people in my community that have gotten quality microphones that work great for $30. This one that I use right now, the Samsung Q2U, I love. And it was like $60. No big deal, but it is important to get that quality in. I also use softwares like Riverside. Riverside has been having some issues lately. So hopefully that as we're up leveling and they're doing the things, it's getting a little bit better. But having something outside of Zoom is so much better to record into, especially if you're going to do video and audio. If you're just doing audio, if you want free, go with GarageBand or Audacity, depending on what you're operating on, whether you're PC or Mac. But recording into something like Riverside, if you're going to use an online platform, it records to your main computer so that if your internet's unstable, you're still getting that high quality video and that high quality audio. And they're starting to do some cool AI stuff on the back, which I love some of it and I hate some of it. So really start thinking about your audio quality. If you are driving down the road on your car speakerphone, it's going to be harder for you to clean up. It's going to distort your voice and people are going to walk away. So understand that audio quality is so important. And from time to time, we're going to have tech issues. I have had so many of those. I've had a few with Riverside that didn't record. I recorded 2 weeks ago and all the audio, whether I recorded on Zoom, live, anything, it didn't work. It didn't actually record the audio, which was absolutely crazy because an interview I had, we could hear each other, but for some reason, Zoom didn't pick up the audio itself. So those are huge and really important. But the foundations are the other reason that I see, and the most important reasons that I preach this. And whenever you go through, whether it's my mastermind or whether it's my 30-day launch program or whatever it is, if we do a one-on-one 90-day profit plan, one of the biggest pitfalls is not understanding your audience or your messaging. If your messaging is off, no matter how great your content is, if you have slightly pivoted, your target audience is not going to find you. And that is going to spell disaster. And then that disaster is going to lead to you being like, back burner. My podcast is supposed to go out tomorrow. Maybe I should record. And it keeps stacking on each other. And it's just not going to help you strive if you don't understand your core message and your target audience. So those are the biggest pitfalls. Do you know who your target audience is? Do you know your niche? I think this is the problem, is that we're not clear. But here's the beauty of podcasting. For me and for many of my clients, just showing up every week and mastering that consistency piece has allowed them to find their target audience, what they want to be doing, who they want to be speaking to. So if you aren't super clear right now, you might still be in that figure it out stage. So keep showing up consistently, putting out good audio, and let things unfold. Again, my favorite story, which I should start using myself because I've had a pretty big transition, but is from essential oils to a 501c, helping people who have been trapped. But my story is I started as a health at every size coach, and my podcast was Feed Your Body with Love. And we were doing health at every size and really leaning into the mindset and the body and the nutrition. And then I started getting into chronic pain coaching. And then I realized there was a lot of chronic pain going on in entrepreneurship. Then I realized I was really good at podcasting. Then it turned into podcasting. Then it still was self-love and business, which Feed Your Business with Love. Then it started moving into this. The podcast about podcasting is what I think this originally started as. Then it went to the Cure for Pod Fade. And then I realized through this whole transition that it's beyond the downloads. Because yes, we can use this platform as a beautiful, beautiful platform to share our messages, spread our messages, grow our businesses, grow our bank accounts, do all the things, heal our own inner turmoil, move through things. But it took me showing up and being relatively consistent to find that. So if you're not 100% clear on your target audience or your target message, hey, I also have a podcast audit, podcastcpr.com. Let me in your business for 45 minutes and I can guarantee you will create a 30-day plan that'll make those little simple tweaks for your show, for your business, that'll get it moving forward. Again, podcastcpr.com. So as promised, some strategies for consistency and sustainability. So we got to talk about being consistent. This is so hard for me because you see, I'm not always consistent, but this is the most critical part after you've built those foundations. So maybe create a content calendar or a monthly theme calendar that's based off of your target audience, your business. Not quite sure what that is? Start just 1 month at a time and plan those 4 to 5 episodes that are going to drop that week. I don't mean you have to go through, script them, do all that stuff, but at least have a title or an idea for each episode. And if you can batch record, you are winning. This is what I need to start doing. It's batch recording. People don't care if you show up in the same shirt. If it bothers you, bring like 4 shirts to wherever you're recording and just swap them out. Put your hair up, put your hair down, breathe in, breathe out. Just kidding. Not going to sing for you, but creating that content calendar. So like for me, I know there's times of the year where people are going to want to launch their podcast. Great. You know when that is? New Year, because, oh shit, I didn't do it last year. I better launch my podcast. So guess when I'm doing another 30-day workshop? In January. February rolls around and we're starting to get into that Q1. You know who's freaking out? The people who already have podcasts that are like, I've been doing this for so long, I'm going to give up. So what do? I launch a workshop that leads into my mastermind. So what content do you think that I'm leading with? So in December and January, I'm talking about the power of podcasting. I'm talking about the benefits, looking beyond the numbers, how to use it, whether podcasting is for you, whether guesting is for you, whether a limited series podcast is for you, whether a private podcast is for you. That's the content I'm creating in December and January that leads into my 30-day podcast launch program. Again, you're seeing this. So as soon as that comes out in January, so January, February, and part of March before my mastermind starts, I'm talking about your pain points, why you're struggling to be consistent, what happens when you get consistent, what happens when you get clear, benefits of podcasting. We're always talking about benefits, whether we're launching or growing, how to do it, how to monetize your show, all these other things. But I think that the other thing that gets in our way is that we have these unrealistic goals because there's so much fake shit online. And it drives me crazy because I look and I have to have these conversations with people all the time, is that I see people out there, I've got millions and millions of downloads, and then you go and you look at their listen scores, which are really low. You look at their comments and their different reviews, and there's no comments, there's no reviews, there's no nothing. And what this says to me is they went to one of those Apple promoters that had bots buying those downloads. And I see it all the time. Some of them count, some of them don't count. I've tested it. I have an extra show that I like to throw random stuff at, whether it's ads or these bot people. And what happens is it's really interesting because I hired a Apple promoter to get me, I don't know, like 20,000 downloads for $70 or something like that. I tried it on this show. I got the downloads and they were supposed to be Apple downloads, but there are bots that hit my account weren't long enough for Apple to actually register it. So they didn't actually show up in my Apple stats, but they did show up on my backend host stats. So there's that to think about too, is that what numbers are inflated, what are real. I hear it all the time because I work behind the scenes a lot, and I'm in a lot of people's businesses and I'm in a lot of communities. I talk to a lot of other podcast producers and managers, and the numbers are so inflated. Don't get defeated. I mean, I always go back to the poll that came out in January of 2024. It's like more than 32 downloads. That's top 50% podcast. more than 121 downloads per episode, that's top 25. 478, top 10. You're looking at like anything over 1,000 puts you between the top 5% and top like 0.1% podcasts. You know, like there aren't a lot of shows getting more than 1,000 downloads per episode. And that being said, do you need thousands of downloads? It's a numbers game, yes. But would you rather have your 30 people who are super fans coming back each week when you're like, I got a new program? They're like, yes, please. I got this new thing. Yes, please. Oh, level up on this. Yes, please. So I really want you to start setting realistic goals and really think about this. And it's really interesting because this has been coming up on a lot of my clients' podcasts. Also, it's like, is it what you really want? Like, do you really want the thousands and thousands and thousands of downloads? And what's that going to do for your business? I've just launched a show and they have thousands of downloads. They ranked in the top 2% on their first week. They were in the top 100 Apple charts within 3 days. That's how many downloads we're getting. Do you know how many sales it brought in? Zero. I'm going to repeat that. They made it to the top 100 Apple charts within 3 days and it brought zero. I'm saying zero sales to their business because it wasn't aligned and they didn't do it. I had another show that I launched a couple months ago and they consistently get 50 downloads a month. But you know what? They're getting consistent 3 sales a month into their course from their podcast because you can track that kind of stuff. From 50 downloads, 3 sales a month every single month for the last 3 months. Their course is like $1,100. So that's $3,300 a month from putting out a show because they've aligned it properly, even though they only have 50 downloads per episode. You've got to have that strategy. You've got to create that content calendar going out of what you're promoting, how you're promoting it, and how you can provide simple wins on each episode to move the person forward. So, do you have those kind of things set up? Do you have realistic goals? Are you recording with good quality equipment? Again, good quality doesn't mean expensive. We don't have to break the bank over here. And now that things are coming out, there's a lot of ways to interact with your audience. Ask for feedback. Do you have feedback? Is there something in your podcast that's driving you crazy? Email me, Jen, Jenn, at jdragonette.com. I will answer your question. You can find me on Instagram, Jen, Jenn.Dragonette. I am everywhere. All those links will be in the show notes for you. Or if you really just want to say, screw it, I want 45 minutes of your time looking at my business and my podcast to see where we can go over the next 30 days so we can give you a 30-day action plan by just auditing your show, podcastcbr.com. So I want you to ask your audience and be open for help. So what else can you do to keep your show going? You got to have the passion and you've got to have the perseverance to keep showing up. It's hard. It's so hard. Podcasting isn't about just turning out content, it's truly sharing what you are passionate about. That's why I keep changing the name of this podcast. Well, because I like to test things. And second, I've been trying to figure out how to blend podcasting, using podcasting to share your story, using podcasting to do this, and your story is someone's life I've booked because podcasting literally saved my life. I would not be on this planet, I don't believe, if I didn't have the connections and the networks through podcasting. So you need to keep showing up. Podcasting is a long game. Like I shut down my other show, Feed Your Business with Love, in May of last year. It is still getting downloads every month and people are still signing up for the freebie that was attached to that show because I still have the freebie there. It doesn't go anywhere beyond the freebie. There's one email. You get the one little mini course thing from it, but I get those consistently every month, even though I have not published since May of 2023. It is now August of 2024. So showing up and persevering and just taking these, it's going to take time. You're going to have to let that ego die of that your downloads aren't growing. It's going to be what happens. So I know that we've talked about a lot, the pitfalls that lead to failure. You know, inconsistency. Hey, it's me too. Poor planning, crappy audio, not connecting or knowing your audience, not having that solid foundation. But we also talked about ways that you can get past these, how to stay consistent with batching, setting realistic goals, getting some good equipment that doesn't break the bank, how to engage with your community, and ask them for feedback and help. So your passions, your perseverance, it's not good. It can't be overstated. If you're not sick of yourself, then you haven't done it enough. Both Tiffany Carter of Project Me with Tiffany and Nancy Medoff of Unmute Yourself podcast tell me that all the time when I listen. And I truly believe it. So I want you to know that you've got this. Just keep showing up. Work on that quality equipment. If you're not really sure about your target audience, just keep showing up and talking about something so that you create that consistency piece. So when it does go, boom, this makes sense. You've already created that action. You've already created that habit. So you just get into it deeper. And then when you start connecting with your audience, it goes and it starts blowing up. So success in podcasting is within your reach, but it requires a combination of strategy, effort, and your heart and your soul and the ability to put those blinders on with all the fake bullshit out there. So I want to know, have you faced any challenges on your podcasting journey? Will any of these strategies help you overcome them? So yeah, again, you can hang out with me. You can reach out to me, Jen at jdragonette.com. Email, you can go over to Instagram, Jen, Jenn or JENN.Dragonette over on Instagram, Jennifer Dragonette on Facebook. You can grab a podcast audit. These are 45 minutes of me looking at your business, your offers, your podcast, your titles, realigning some of it so that we can kind of like tap into that SEO. Maybe it's creating that freebie that goes along with your podcast, or maybe it's just creating content, but it's 45 minutes of me looking at your business, creating a strategy for the next 30 days to help you grow your show. podcastcpr.com. Anyways, I appreciate you for tuning in. And remember, your story deserves a microphone. You are beautiful, you are wonderful, you are worthy. So go out and make your tsunami of change because the world deserves it. Now go do the damn thing.